expand as much as possible, and we have this expression log base 5, and in parentheses 25 times x cubed all over the cube root of y. All right, so what does it mean to expand? So here we see one expression, right? We see one log with its corresponding base. Okay, but then in the argument, we see a fraction. There's actually three different terms here, right? There's 25, the x cubed, and the cube root of y. Right? So when we expand, okay, what we want to do is we want to first use the product rule and the quotient rule. Okay, so we want to use the product rule and the quotient rule. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to break this off into the sum and difference of logs. Okay, in this case, three of them, right? Because there are three different terms in the argument. Okay, so when we expand, we're going to use the product rule and the quotient rule first. Okay, and then you have to make sure we use the power rule last. Okay, so make sure you use the power rule last. Okay. So let's take a look. Remember what the product rule says and what the quotient rule says, right? Okay, we have to separate this. Okay, so the order doesn't really matter, but we know that, okay, I have log base 5. I'm going to take the numerator, which is 25x cubed, minus log base 5 of whatever's in the denominator. In this case, just one term, right? So I use the quotient rule first in this case. Like I said, order doesn't really matter, but usually we do quotient rule first. Okay? So we broke it down into two logs, the log of the numerator minus the log of the denominator. And then, wait a minute, this is still a product, right? So I can use the product rule on this guy. So we get log base 5 of 25 plus log base 5 of x cubed minus log base 5 of the cube root of y. Okay, but we are not done yet though, right? Because we have to use a power rule last. So we see a power here, so power rule says we could just bring that down. Right? What about this guy? Remember, this is also a power, right? The cube root can be written as an exponent. Right, so this can actually be written log base 5 of y to the 1/3 power, right? And now we should be able to do power rule last. And then, oh, wait a minute, log base 5 of 25, right? That's just equal to 2, right? So 2 plus 3 log base 5 of x minus 1/3 log base 5 of y. This is the final answer. Okay? And one thing we have to remember is that this is actually equivalent to this guy right here, right? It's the same numeric value, right? It just looks very different, but that is using the rules, right? The product rule and the quotient rule and the power rule of logs.